Hello, my name is Candace Ward. This video will explore the importance of Coulomb's law to understanding electrostatics. We'll begin by anatomizing the formula for Coulomb's law and how it measures electrostatic force. Then we'll move on to electric field lines, and finally we'll figure out how to measure an electric field. In this video, you'll learn how to use Coulomb's law to calculate the force in between two point charges, as well as measure the electric field generated by a single charge. By the end of this video, you'll be able to answer questions like this, which ask you to analyze a visual representation of an electric field. To start off with, let's break down Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law describes the electrostatic force between two charges, here denoted as Q1 and Q2. This formula probably looks somewhat familiar. It's pretty close to the equation for gravitational force. So if you have a good grasp of gravity, you already understand a lot about electric fields and Coulombic forces. Since our two charges are in the numerator, we see that the electrostatic force is proportional to the magnitude of the charge. The MCAT loves to test proportionalities, so we can tell that since force is directly proportional to charge, if we increase the magnitude of one of the charges, our electrostatic force will increase as well. Now, charges of course have signs. They can either be positively charged or negatively charged. If the two charges in our system have the same sign, we'll get a repulsive force between them. However, if we have opposite charges, they'll have an attractive force. Remember that old adage, opposites attract? It applies to electrostatics too. Let's take a second and identify each of the variables in our equation so you know exactly what signifies what. F is the magnitude of electrostatic force. Like any other force, its units are in newtons. The K you see in the equation is the electrostatic constant, also called Coulomb's constant. Continuing our analogy to gravitational force, K is analogous to the gravitational constant G, but K is actually much larger, by a factor of about 10 to the 20th. Additionally, you won't need to memorize either value for test day. If you need it for a calculation, the test makers will give it to you. And like I said earlier, the two Q's in the equation are the 2 point charges we're dealing with, and finally R is the distance between the two charges. Now that we have Coulomb's law in our list of equations, how and when do we use it? Let's put the equation back up on the screen for easy reference. Taking a closer look at that R squared value in the denominator, make sure you realize that just like a gravitational force, the farther the two charges get away from each other, the weaker the electrostatic force is. This inverse proportionality is a hot topic for MCAT questions. The test makers could ask you a question like this, where they change the distance between the two charges and ask how it affects the force. If we have the distance, we're going to increase the electrostatic force. However, the force isn't just doubled. Force is inversely proportional to R squared. 2 squared is 4, so we get an electrostatic force that's 4 times the initial force. Now, what about the opposite situation? Here, the distance is doubled, so we know we'll get a decreased force. This time, our force will be a fourth of the initial electrostatic force. The MCAT could ask a question in the opposite way as well, giving you the resultant force and asking you how a variable has changed. We have an increasing force again, which means distance decreased, but by how much? The square root of 100 is 10, and our distance decreased by a factor of 10. One last question. Our force is decreasing, which means our charges are getting farther apart. If the force decreases by 25, we know that our distance is increased by the square root of that number, 5. Being able to figure out changes based on proportionalities is an essential skill for your MCAT, so be sure to practice it frequently. Try it out whenever you get a new physics equation. We've just analyzed how we can use Coulomb's law to measure the electrostatic force between two charges, but broadening our perspective, we should recognize that a point charge establishes an electric field around itself, just like a massive object has a gravitational field. In physics, we denote an electric field with drawings called field lines. We have to draw lines to tell us where the electric field is, because, in reality, we can't actually see the electric field. The only way we know it's there or which direction it points in is by putting a point charge in the field and measuring the force it feels. In our diagram on the screen, we see a positive charge Q on the left and a negative charge Q on the right. There are 3 main rules about electric field lines you should recognize for test day. First of all, these lines are vectors. Going along with the first rule is the fact that field lines never cross. And finally, the density of the field lines tells us how strong the electric field is at that location. If we have a bunch of field lines, we can deduce that the electric field is very strong at that point. And based on Coulomb's law, you could probably guess that the closer to the source charge you are, the stronger the electric field. Like many aspects of science, electric field lines typically follow certain conventions. Remember that rule about field lines being vectors? Well, those lines are actually telling us the direction of the electrostatic force on a positive test charge at that location. If we put a positive test charge in the electric field of a positive source charge, the test charge will feel a repulsive force. The opposite is true for a negative source charge. In our diagram on the screen, if we put a positive test charge directly above our source charge, our field lines tell us that the test charge would feel a force in the upward direction. Something you may have noted from the previous page is that the field lines start at the positive source charge and radiate outwards. However, if we have a negative source charge, we're going to see the positive test charge moving towards the negative source charge, and we see the field lines radiating inwards towards the negative source charge. Now that we've dissected electric field lines in Coulomb's law, you have a good foundation for our next topic, the electric field formula. In our equation, E is the electric field, and units of newtons per coulomb. Here we see the electric field and a test charge. The electric field is equal to our electrostatic force felt by a test charge little q divided by the test charge. In our diagram at the bottom, the test charge here is little q. This is the charge that feels the force of the electric field. K is still the electrostatic constant, and big Q is the source charge, the charge from which our electric field comes. In our diagram, the big charge in the middle is the source charge, big Q. And we still have distance in the denominator. Let's try some practice questions to test our new knowledge. In this first question, we're asked to analyze the electric field lines for two source charges. Take a second and pick an answer. The answer is A. If you remember our conventions, field lines point away from positive source charges, and the density of field lines tells us how strong the electric field is at that point. Both QA and QB have field lines pointing away from them, so they're both positive, and QB has more field lines around it, so its magnitude is greater. Practice question 2 asks about the movement of fragments after a nucleus breaks apart. Take a second and pick an answer. This question is pretty tough, but the answer is C. When a nucleus breaks apart, we can think about it in terms of the positively charged protons interacting with each other, which would make you think of Coulomb's law. When two positive charges interact, there's a repulsive force. They really don't want to be close to each other. So when they push against each other, the distance in between them increases. When that distance increases, our electrostatic force decreases. Now we have a problem asking us about Newton's second law. Shifted around a bit, we see that acceleration is equal to force divided by mass. If our force decreases, our acceleration decreases as well. A common source of confusion here is the fact that even though the value of acceleration is decreasing, velocity is still increasing. This is a really great problem, so make sure you come back and review it until it makes sense. Let's try one more problem. Here we're asked about the ratio of electric fields at different distances. This sounds like a proportionality problem. Take a second and pick an answer. Our answer is B. If you remember back to our electric field equation, the electric field is inversely proportional to the square of the distance from the source charge. If we double the distance, we get a fourth of the electric field, which is 18. If we triple the distance, we get 1/9 of the initial electric field, which is 8. So our ratio is 72 to 18 to 8. I know this material can be tough to comprehend at first, so let's highlight the main points of this video. The electric force is measured by Coulomb's law and is in newtons. Electric field lines indicate the direction of the force a positive test charge would feel, so the field lines point away from positive charges, indicating a repulsive force, and towards negative source charges, indicating an attractive force. Lastly, we explored the equation for the electric field, which is equal to Coulomb's law divided by the test charge. Electric fields have the units of newtons per coulomb. Thanks for watching this video on the fascinating topic of electrostatics. This material is really important to know for test day, so get working and good luck on your MCAT.